Ooh. Ah. Hello, welcome. I'm Hannah, and today I want to talk mostly about the new Cradled in Ice palette from Fantasy Cosmetica. This just released pretty recently. I ordered it the second it went live. It shipped like within the next 5 minutes, and I got it so quickly. So that's awesome. This palette appealed to me because I love all of the really beautiful looking neutrals. I love that there's a couple different options for more warm crease shades, which is really important to me in constructing a look. And I feel like whenever I have a palette without those more practical shades for me, I just don't reach into it as much. And additionally, I love a good blue. I find it so hard to find good blue matte singles. So I'm hoping these will work for me in that way. And this palette's magnetic, so I'd be able to pop them out and intersperse them into a BYOP if I wanted to do that. So I have not yet dipped into this palette. We're gonna do that together today. The only other palette I have from Fantasy Cosmetica is the Druid palette. This was their first palette launch. I think it was in summer of 2022, and then I got it during Black Friday of 2022. This was also right before they introduced magnetic palettes, so already right off the bat, super excited for Cradled in Ice for that reason. I really like these formulas. I think the shimmers are awesome. I think the mattes are very user-friendly, so I'm hoping to have the same experience with this new one, even though historically, blues seem to be very hard to formulate, and a lot of blues that I've tried have been like total rubbish. For that reason, I think I want to just try diving right into the blue. Just trial by fire, see how it goes. I put down my eye primer already, and I'm going to go in to Frozen. Little kick up in the pan, doesn't bother me as long as it's not like an avalanche on my face. Seems to be good pick up on the brush. I'm going to be a little bit careful with it. Gonna try to not like blend too much. But this is great pigmentation. The color is really pretty. But I will need to like blend this edge a little bit now that I don't have so much product on my brush. Yeah, this is going pretty well. This placement isn't like my everyday thing, but I have a little bit of a vision. I'm holding the brush low so I can have lighter movement up top. I always teeter between, like, should I go in with something I would normally do the first time I use a palette? Or should I just go, like, full wild the vision of the palette I have? Clearly I made a decision already this time, and it's yet to be determined if the look's actually going to come out to be good, but mostly judging the quality of the shadows, and the shadow seems awesome so far. I also really like in this palette how it seems to be, like, lighter, more mid-toned, and more deep tones. I like some sense of organization in the palette. It's like you don't have to memorize where things are as much. It's just kind of like intuitive and you can figure it out. And I like the options for different colors in the different steps, especially you can finish a look off with a deep blue or a deep brown. You have cool and warm options for mid-tones, cool and warm for light tones. Next, I'm going to go in with Glacial on a bit of a smaller brush and try to get this on the outside. Seems to pick up very similarly to the first one. Okay, decent amount of fallout off the bat. It's possible I just need to remember to be more gentle. I am happy to see it's like a good pigment level where I plopped it down. I found with other blue mattes, it's like you plop down the color and all of it just falls off onto your face. So it's not only fallout, but it also doesn't preserve the pigmentation that you originally put down. So I definitely prefer preserving the pigmentation on the lid, even if there still is fallout, because the other way just completely like defeats the purpose of using eyeshadow. Okay, that was me, but I just put it in like totally different directions. Let's get this one a little higher up then. Another question I also often have about more traditionally hard to use mattes is how they blend into each other. So just for the look of it, I could imagine leaving this light blue here and the dark blue here, but I also kind of want to try to blend in a little bit of the darker to this side just to see how it goes, just to see if it doesn't like conjoin or not. Already that's looking pretty decent. Okay, yeah. No, that seems pretty good. There's no like harsh separation or anything like that. Just a weird look. I'm also going to try to blend the edge of the deeper blue just a little bit using the lighter blue Frozen. You can see how much powder's in the air, but this is working really well. And I'm just going to connect these. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it, but why not? Yeah, it really feels like the colors mix. I'm often mad at myself when I put a lot of color in here. I just think it looks so like a mask on me. Like in my head, it always feels like it's going to work out and look a little bit more like carefully placed. And then whenever I do it, it just looks like a big old mess. But what can I say? Gotta take risks sometime, and hopefully it'll come together in the end. Or at least we'll just call this like a playtime, and I'm learning a bit about the shadows. So then next time I can do it in more of a controlled way. Because realistically, a huge blue crease isn't really my thing, but I know now that I can kind of like trust the shadows to perform well, to have high pigmentation, to blend if I need them to, and I just have to be a little bit wary of the fallout. Okay, I was able to wipe off the fallout pretty easily. I've had other deep blue shadows that when I try to wipe them off, they're like spreading, the powder is kind of separating and falling apart more, or it's making more of a mess before it goes away, you know? But this did clean up very easily, no staining or anything, so that's a good sign. I'm gonna pop a shimmer in this look. So there's 5 shimmers and they all seem pretty neutral, but I think the 2 on the top seem more warm and these 3 seem more cool. I think I'm gonna go in with this one for the look. It's Treasure. Has a nice texture to it. Looks very silver on the finger. More silver than I thought it might look, but let's see. We'll do individual swatches of these also. Because now that it's swatched out, it looks a little bit more blue, but that might just be because it's interacting with the other blues. I remember from the Druid palette, there was a variety of formulas. There was at least one shimmer that was like a super beautiful, like piecey sparkle type of shimmer, which is like my favorite kind. There were some that were more metallic, and then there's one that was more like a satin, and I could use it either way. And I liked the variety of finishes because it just felt like they each had a purpose and you could do different things with both of them. Like I wouldn't necessarily go on the lower lash line with a more piecey shimmer, but with a more traditional metallic I would. And then like the satiny shimmer one I could use for my crease. I could use it all over my lid for a more subtle look. That type of formula also works really well for the lower lash line. So it would be something that I would appreciate if this palette has a variety of formulas also. But I will say for like the main shimmer for this look, I don't love this formula as much. This is a formula that I might more so use in addition to a more sparkly shimmer. I could see having a lid with like this on the outer part, a more sparkly shimmer on the inner part, or this like part of the lower lash line or something, or even this as like a liner. Like I love doing a line of shimmer around my crease when I have a more controlled crease. And this type of formula generally picks up better on a brush, so then I could do that with it. I'm also super interested in this shade Crystal. This looks like a really pretty color with maybe a warm base, but like cool sparkle to it. So I'm gonna try to layer that on top of Treasure and see how that works out. Yeah, this one feels a little bit softer. Ooh, this looks like it's going to be one of my favorites. And again, we're not getting like the full experience of it alone, seeing it on top of the other one. But I can see like what it's transforming that other one to. Looks really pretty. Yeah. Doesn't this kind of look like a Milky Way or something? Something about the like more diagonal placement and the color, the variety of the blues just looks very like spacey to me. I can feel a little bit of roughness on my eye. So I don't know if that is just from this shadow or from the combination, the layers of the shadows, but I feel the texture in a little bit of a rough way moving around on my lid, which isn't something that bothers me if I'm experiencing it for like a couple seconds while doing my makeup, but if you're particularly sensitive to textured eyeshadows, that's something to keep in mind. Part of me is tempted to try to like take down the inner crease situation a little bit, but I think I do want to kind of trust the process. I always like things way better when I have like color on my lower lash line and the mascara on and everything like that. And even if it's a little bit more ridiculous than I will do with this palette again, it's okay. Makeup washes off. I think sometimes I feel a little bit like I'm gonna post this on the internet with like this type of crease that I don't think looks very good. I don't think it looks like I'm very good at makeup when I have something like this on. And, you know, I'm not the most careful person with makeup. I prefer to enjoy doing my makeup over being super precise with my makeup. Like, I prefer it to be something fun that I can do kind of quickly. And in that territory sometimes comes things like this that I didn't do very quickly, so it's a little bit more out of the lines. But if you're someone like me who has a similar makeup philosophy, then I'm sure your makeup sometimes looks like this too, and that's okay. As I said, I learned a lot about using these shadows from doing this look, and I don't have to do it again. Makeup washes off. One wild makeup look isn't the only indication of my skills, and even so, I'm not claiming to be the most skilled makeup person anyway. Who cares? So we're gonna roll with it. I'm going to put on most of the rest of my makeup, but there are a couple other products I want to put on along with you, so I'll be right back. Okay, I put on my base and my brows. I didn't do like my cheek products or anything. I figured that because these blues have a little bit more of a risk of having fallout than like the neutrals I usually go on my lower lash line with do, I should do my lower lash line now. So if I have to touch up my base, I'm only touching up my foundation and my concealer, and I'm not having to touch up things like my highlight, which could easily be in the way, be in the path of destruction. So let's say I haven't considered what I want to do for my lower lash line. It's a funny look because it's least pigmented in this like center to center outer section there. Okay, maybe I'm kind of thinking of doing a little bit more of a dramatic lower lash line, and that way I can try out this deepest blue also. So I'm gonna first go in with Glacial. I always like using the same color on the outer part as I do in the outermost part of the upper lid. Oh yeah. So then it kind of like flows together, makes the whole eye look a little bit more cohesive. But then I'll probably darken this up with the deeper blue. I'm gonna do a little bit in this part too, and I could blend it out with the lighter blue also, because I'm seeing that because I used a lot of the lighter blue on the top of the lid, this is already looking like harsher than the top of the lid does. Okay, I'm a little bit nervous about this because I do, as I said, I am okay having the lower lash line being a little intense, but I still want the colors to match. So I am going to take a little bit of Frozen, which is the lightest blue, on this fluffier brush, just like the smallest amount, and just try to like fluff it a little bit in there. Oh, I don't know about this. Usually when I use this brush, I don't have any product on it. Yeah, I can't do this. I'm like trying to fluff it, but it's just going directly in my eye. So maybe I'll just try to blend it at the bottom. Yeah, I have to be lower down on my eye. Did that just make this whole thing look way messier? I feel like I'm crying blue tears. Okay, that is what it is. I'm gonna try the smallest amount of the deepest blue, but I might backpedal if this is looking a little wild. I am scared of dark blue. Okay. This one actually feels really nice and easy to work with. Yeah, I think it is that medium blue that has most of the fallout. This darker blue doesn't seem to. Okay. I don't know if I like this. I'm like, maybe I should put a little bit of lighter blue on this same little pencil brush and try it that way. Yeah, at least to be a bit of a transition to like my skin from this harsh blue. Yeah, messiness aside, I think this side does look better than this side. But I am a little scared about cleaning up this fallout because can't just wipe it off this time. Or, I mean, if I do, I just have to redo that base makeup, and that's always annoying to do. Okay, I'm always a little weary to fix my fallout on camera because I feel like I just always do a better job when I'm not doing my makeup in the viewfinder, but I thought it might be helpful to show the process of figuring out what to do, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with just like my regular under eye powder brush and just try to knock off as much excess powder as I can that way. And actually that leaves it not too bad. And I'm wiping this off on my finger in between also to hopefully not, you know, spread powder from one eye onto the other or whatever. All right, and that's really not too bad. And then I'm going to take a little bit of concealer. I don't want to do too much, but I just have a dot on each, and even so I'm going to like spread that out a little bit. And I'm going to use this foundation brush to try to get in there. Sometimes it'll kind of like mix with the pigments and then discolor the under eye. And then like you might have to redo the step, or sometimes if it's just like not working, that's the point that I realize I have to like wipe off this section and patch it that way. Like take it off to then cover up just my skin so I can remove the like discoloration. But this isn't so bad. And I think from here, I can first just repowder my under eye. And for any spots that are still a little bit discolored, I use the same powder, but just on a denser brush. And then I just concentrate it a little bit more. So it's not ideal, but you do get the under eyes back to looking like normal person under eyes. Yeah. For my cheeks, I'm just going to go in with my normal glowish bronzer. I haven't been thinking about the fact that, like, they announced the glowish line. They're, like, closing it or whatever. It took me so long to find a powder bronzer that I really liked. And now, like, great. What am I? I'm gonna be, like, back to square one. And this, I feel like I have a pretty decent dip in here. I've had this since last November. So maybe if it's still available, I should look into getting another one and just, like, prolong how long I'm gonna need until I have to like be back at square one again. And then I'm gonna go in with this cream blush. This is from Merit. It's the shade Fox. They did send this to me like last year or longer ago. I'm not sure. But I have actually some newer Merit products to show you after this. But I really love this cream blush formula because I could like blend it so easily with my fingers, and I feel like it just looks so natural. Recently I've also been doing a little bit of blush on my forehead, just kind of where my bronzer is, to give a little bit of warmth up there. So Merit just recently sent me their Day Glow Balm. This is in the shade Solstice. So I have this in Cava. This is Cava. And I really love it as a highlighter for me. I think it gives such like a good glow without being like glittery. It doesn't have any base to it, and it doesn't seem to disrupt any product that I have underneath. So I do think this is the best shade for me, but because they don't really have a base to them, they are more versatile in, you know, working for a variety of skin tones than most highlighters are. So I think Solstice is meant to work for a lot of people, but I am a little bit intimidated by it because clearly this balm is a lot deeper than my skin tone is. But I think it works especially like right at the edge of my blush because it kind of just melds. And it works for like a more bronzy cheek. And, you know, like I said, for the blush, I just love like the ease of use of applying it with my finger. Oh, I really like how that like subtle bronzy glow looks on my nose. Yeah, I like this color. I feel like Cava is the good, like, everyday shade for me, but this shade is like a little bit more bronzy goddess, and I really like that about it. I will say they sent this brush along with it that I think you're supposed to, like, use for this, but when I used this with the brush, I felt like it moved around the product underneath, so my preferred method for the day glow is just tapping it on with my finger, but I really do like the brush for my foundation. This is what I was using also to, like, touch up, like, my concealer under my eyes, and I like that the bristles are a little bit less dense than my normal foundation brush. Like, this one, I just go, like, flat on and move around, but this one, it has this little, like, bend to it, so I can put the pressure at the bottom of it and then just, like, move the bristles in, like, a crevice, like, under my eye, and I think it blends really nicely, so I really do like this brush. And then lastly for my lips, I'm just gonna start with this Rare Beauty liner. This is the shade Worthy. Oh. I think it just popped out. I think there's, no. So this is like a swirl up, and I see something down deep in there. It's not gonna focus, but, and I thought maybe I could, like, get it to swivel up enough to use that, but I feel like, ooh, when I twist it, it's like making a little noise. Ugh. I feel like this just broke before our eyes. Okay, never mind. Huh. Yeah, I guess it must have just, like, dried out and, like, cracked. I've only had this for a couple months. I got this last November, but I did buy a lot of lip liners at that time, and this was not my favorite of them, so I'm not, like, that heartbroken, and I'm not gonna replace it. And frankly, I was only grabbing for it because it was my only, like, you know, neutral lip liner that was in, like, that was right here, but I'm just gonna have to get a different one out of a purse, so BRB. Okay, I think I found enough options. This Tarte one is my favorite. The Tarte Maracuja Juicy Lip Liner in Soft Pink. I think this really is like a My Lips But Better. I feel like I can always leave it with just the liner because it looks pretty natural, but also I use it as a base to go over with my other lip products. So lastly, from Merit, I was able to choose a color of lipstick, and I really wanted to try the new matte formula that came out a couple months ago. So I watched a couple videos to try to figure out which color would be best for me, and I decided to go with the shade Equestrian. It's described as a warm brown, but the thing that I found particularly intriguing about this was that it seemed like it looked very different, like vastly different on different people. Sometimes it looked really dark, sometimes it just looked like a regular mid-toned brown, and I wanted to find out for myself what that meant because I'm open to either one. I'm open to a deep brown. I don't have that right now in my collection in a lipstick formula, and I'm also open for just like a regular kind of like interesting mid-tone, so it's a little bit deeper than I go for on an everyday basis, but it gives like an, you know, like a different shade option to my collection, a different kind of statement lip. And what I found with this is that it can go either way. So today I purposely put it over a liner to try to give it like a more neutral base to be on, but I can also layer it up pretty easily to be a darker lip. Also, the matte formula, I really like it. I like it more than the cream formula. I really liked the shade Baby, and I will say I think overall I do like the shade selection better in the creams, but I did feel like when I wore the creams a lot, it would dry out my lips a little bit, and I haven't had that at all with the mattes, and I feel like the matte formula, it's not like a 2016 dry down matte. It's very comfortable. It's very like you can feel your lips rubbing against each other. It's not like the old mattes where like they repel or they crumble. I really like that about it. And especially in the shade, I just think it's so cute, it's so special, and I really like the versatility. A couple last notes about Merit. On their website, they offer free shipping over 40. Your first purchase comes with this super cute little makeup bag. I love using this for travel. And they just recently launched like a reward system. So if you shop on their website, once you reach certain point milestones, you can pick from like a variety of cute little things. I don't know. I like that they've been implementing that. I have an affiliate link down below. If you're interested in shopping from Merit, if my recommendations help, I would love if you click through that link and shopped. Or in the future, if you want to support my channel, you can come back to this video, click through that link and shop. No pressure, of course, but if you do, I appreciate it, and it shows the brand that it makes sense to send me products from time to time so I can let you know my thoughts on them. And then to finish off the eyes, I just need to add an inner corner. I really don't have to, but I like the idea of brightening up that section. And I'm just gonna go in with Midnight Tryst from the Glam Smitty Chambasty Garden of Love. It's not a quad, I don't know, 6-pan. I really love this shadow. It has like different colored sparkles in it. So I love it when I don't want the inner corner to be so distinctly one color. And especially in this case, it seems to be picking up the blue that's underneath it. That looks really nice. I like that. I felt like if I used a regular blue iridescent, it might like detract a bit from the rest of the look. Like it might steal all the attention, but I feel like this is doing exactly what I want it to do. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna put on my liners and everything, my mascara, and we'll come back. We'll do some swatches of this palette, some final thoughts. All right, I'll be right back. Here is the finished look. I like it. I still feel like I'm a little bit out of control in the crease, but it just has this like overall impression of just blue all around the eyes. And I feel like these particular shades of blue are so beautiful. I love that they lean a little bit more cool, but they're not like grayed out at all. I really like it. I think it looks so pretty. I also really like the lip with it. I feel like whenever I do a more cool eye, I want to make sure I'm balancing it with a more warm lip. And I like that this has just like a little bit of drama, that it's not just like all eye and no lip, you know? A close-up look. I used a Charlotte Tilbury blue liner on my waterline, and then on my upper lashes, I went in with my Thrive Cosmetics mascara, the tubing mascara like usual, and then I did go over it with a little bit of a blue mascara, but I don't think you can really tell. Huh. As for the palette, they could have called this the Cradled in Nice palette, because this palette is nice. No, but seriously, I'm excited about this palette. I think it was a big test to try out the blues in this palette, and I'm pretty confident that considering the blues, which seem to be the hardest to formulate, are good, I'm not too concerned about the performance of the more neutral shades, and I also know I'm going to go in with the more neutral shades more often. Let me give you some swatches of the palette. We have Frost, ooh, Frozen, Hatchling, Snuggle, Glacial, Treasure, Adore, Hideaway, Crystal, Nest, Embrace, Lair. Yeah, seeing this all swatched out, I'm super excited to have and to use this palette more. This, to me, kind of feels like an interesting neutrals palette with pops of blue. And that's like exactly up my alley. Like, I don't want something to be so neutral that it's boring, but I love that I can just pop in here, use a beautiful shimmer, use a more like interesting neutral shade to accent it, and be on my merry way. And that is realistically how I do my makeup most of the time, and the reason why I think I'm going to use this palette a whole bunch. I'm most excited for this first shimmer in the palette. I think that looks like the type of shade I'm going to use all the time. It has that like wet look shine to it, and I really love it. This one, Snuggle, I'm surprised by how pink it is. I wasn't expecting that, but it's interesting to see that I can combine that with this matte and have like a super rosy pink look from this palette, and also something like that can be deepened up with the brown. I also think the color of this looks really pretty. It looks like a little bit more of like a satiny formula with lots of sparkle. And also I will say I like that the two deeper mattes didn't swatch quite as pigmented, because that will make them easier to use. When really deep shadows are really insanely pigmented, that's when you get like a ton of fallout and stuff, and if I was cleaning up fallout from like this shade on my face, it would have been a bigger deal than like cleaning up the fallout from this shade. This shade didn't seem to have any fallout, and I expect that this brown won't really either. But yeah, I'm excited that I decided to pick up this palette. I don't think I've bought a palette that recently. Well, I guess the Bella Beauté Bar Dead Roses palette in like February. So I guess like, you know, 3 or 4 months for a makeup lover is a pretty long time. And I suspect I'm gonna get more use out of this than I do out of the Bella Beauté Bar palette, because although I really enjoyed that one also, it doesn't have like the cool tone neutrals like this palette does that I do reach for on an everyday basis. That's gonna be everything for today. If you enjoyed this, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. I also have a Patreon I'll have linked down below where I'm doing random palette selections every month, as well as a couple eye looks with those random palette selections. And I also have a fashion channel I'll have linked down below that I haven't posted on in a little while, but I will sometime, I promise. Either way, thank you so much for being here. Bye.